Hello, Patreon and YouTube. This is Nathan B. Butler, and this is a project update for the end here of October 2018. Now, not a whole lot to talk about this time. This month was dominated by the baby and work, and basically a trip to take the baby to meet family up in Indiana. All my family is up in Evansville, Indiana, pretty much, with a very few exceptions, at least my side of the family. My wife's side, pretty much all down here in Georgia, so they've got a chance to see the baby quite a few times. The people up in Indiana hadn't, so we took a quick trip up there so that he could meet them, as though, you know, he's going to remember it, right? It's more for them to meet him and remember him as a baby rather than the other way around. But with all that stuff going on, it has been a really busy month. My wife is not back at work yet. She is still here on leave, on disability, basically, so we're waiting for her to be able to go back to work sometime in the near future. Lots of physical therapy in the future. I must say, at some point, I should probably do a vlog, or maybe use it as one of those random questions to use for the Q&A for Patreon on months where we don't have any questions get submitted. Something on just the shit they don't tell you about pregnancy and the aftermath. There is so much stuff health-wise that my wife has been going through that is apparently normal or fairly normal after pregnancy that I didn't know a thing about. You know, they always talk about, women back in the day, they had their babies and they were just up the next day back at work. Those women were insane, or way, way more hardy than human beings are these days, because holy crap, there's a lot of stuff they just don't tell you about what, especially the woman, is going to go through physically and everything else throughout that process, both within the pregnancy that's a little more well-known and especially afterwards. So maybe at some point I'll do a vlog about that, all the stuff that surprised me. But suffice to say, we're still in that kind of post-birth, the postpartum process here, where she's not quite back at work yet. So between the baby and that and the trip and everything else, it's been a very busy month. Haven't really had time to get to a whole lot of things. In fact, we can clear the decks real quick on the update of one thing, which is no new podcasts yet, as far as podcasts for Star Wars Beyond the Films or Cloud City Casino at StarWarsReport.com. Michael and I have not had a chance to get together and record. We barely had a chance to talk at all this month. Mark and I have not either, though we are planning ahead so that our next episode we record is going to be about Thrawn alliances. When we'll record, we don't know yet, hopefully by the time of the next of these monthly updates. But no new episodes of Cloud City Casino or Star Wars Beyond the Films to speak of at this point. And of course, the Star Wars Timeline Gold, its final edition, is already out, so no news to speak of there. Just quick clearing of the decks here. But before we get any further, I do want to take a moment to thank all of the Patreon supporters who help make this channel possible, along with that exclusive Patreon content. We start with the travelers through the Butlerniverse, those who are of that $1 and up tier, who get thanked here, get thanked in the credits here, which is really the main thing that it's for, and thanked in the next edition of A Saga on Home Video, which I'm still taking pictures for at this point to update for the next edition here in a year or two, or whenever the baby lets me do so. But the travelers through the Butlerniverse include Ben P. Stein, Thomas Myers, Martin Dahl, Austin Pierce, Jeremiah Mustard, and S.W. Chris. Thank you very much for being part of the Patreon. Again, it's patreon.com/NathanPButler for those who aren't familiar with it. Then we have our denizens of the Butlerniverse. These are the folks who are doing a $5 and up pledge. These folks are able to get access to those exclusive Clone Wars and other audio commentaries that I produce. I guarantee 2 for the Clone Wars each month, usually on the 1st and 15th of the month, and we are pushing about 30 of those at this point. So a nice, large cache of those for those who have been considering jumping in, but maybe haven't done so yet. But the current denizens include Jared Rasher, Jeff Ellis, Joey Zitzman, Stephen M., Sam Howard, Chris Morgan, Robert Medina, Bobby Craig, and Jason Hunt. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy those audio commentaries for the Clone Wars and the little extras I've done for, like, Forces of Destiny. I'm actually hoping by the end of the year to get some more Forces of Destiny ones recorded for the other 2. I've done Volume 1 and 2. I haven't done 3 and 4 yet. I'm actually a little bit ahead on recording for the audio commentaries for Clone Wars, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to use some time to also knock those out as well. So look for those hopefully in like November, December-ish. Maybe it'll be November, December, maybe it'll be December, January, but hopefully you'll see some Forces of Destiny commentaries added in there to round out that series, since I've already done 2 of them at this point. And then, of course, I want to thank the top tier of supporters over on Patreon. That is the nobility of the Butlerniverse, who not only get access to the commentaries, get the thanks and everything here, but also get access to those exclusive monthly Q&A videos where they can ask me questions, and I record the answers to them as part of that video, whether it's a question or a comment or whatever it might be, doing those videos on a monthly basis. We have started the process now where if I don't get any questions for that particular month, I'll just sort of randomly pick a topic. Generally, it's going to be a set of topics, and I just roll a die to figure out which topic to use, as was a couple of months ago. But last time, it wound up being that it was just the right time. There weren't any questions, so I went through and gave my initial thoughts on Star Wars Resistance, which so far you haven't heard anywhere else, which is so far only covered in that exclusive Q&A video for the beginning of October for those Nobility of the Butlerverse Patreon supporters. So, might be worthwhile. It's a $10 and up tier if you're interested in those kinds of exclusive commentaries and conversations that we can have through these videos and such. But that top tier includes Brian Snook, David Ray, Gary Sherwood, Benjamin Handelman, the original Patreon supporter, Andrew Bettis, and Aaron Melzak. So thank you all for being Patreon supporters. Let's take a look at what else has gone on for this month. And honestly, most of it is YouTube, right? Because right now it's mainly YouTube stuff, pictures for the book, podcasts I haven't been able to really do, plus Patreon, YouTube, pretty much wraps up the stuff now that the Star Wars Timeline Gold is over with. But there is a lot for YouTube, so let me change my mind in flight and let's just do a quick check of what we have for Patreon. The last day we had one of these updates where the Patreon supporters could see their names in the credits and whatnot and hear their names said on the show was back on September 26th. That is found on YouTube and on Patreon. The exclusive Q&A for the month, it was exclusive Q&A number 10, was posted back on October 10th. That's the one that has my initial thoughts on Star Wars Resistance. Okay. Then we had 2 audio commentaries go up for the month. On the 1st of October, it was the Season 2 premiere. It was the Clone Wars Holocron heist. And then on October 15th, which is right around the 1-year anniversary of the Patreon launching, we had Cargo of Doom. So, of course, coming up next month, we're going to wind up seeing the episode Children of the Force. Then that'll be followed up by Bounty Hunters. Then in December, it'll be Zillo Beast and Zillo Beast Strikes Back. And why do I mention them? Because I have all 4 of those actually already recorded. I'm not like right on the edge of missing a release date. I've actually got them recorded. I just need to edit the things. But those are coming up. Those are the next 4 for those who are curious coming up in the months of November and December. I've actually got the regular Clone Wars commentaries recorded for the 1st and 15th of the month for the entire rest of the year now, which is mind-boggling because I never thought I'd get to that point. My wife decided to be a saint one day and said, I'll just take him in here and you just go in there and record. And record I did, and almost lost my voice, but did get it done. I also posted a quick video on Patreon on October 17th, which is just a quick thanks to the supporters at 1 year, and some announcements up there that I will address later because they're actually another project that I've been involved with. As for the YouTube channel, lots of X-Wing stuff and some home video stuff this time around. From the Star Wars home video library, had 2 new episodes go up since the last update, episodes 175 and 176. Those took a look at all the US releases of Solo upon release, and then all the UK releases of Solo upon release. So if you're curious about releases of Solo that came out just here in the last month or so, get a rundown of all the US and UK copies, all through from the Star Wars Home Video Library on the YouTube channel. And, you know, just to make sure you don't think I'm being lazy here, this is the first time I've had a chance to record in a while with video. It's night, the light is not that great, as seems to be the case a lot of times lately. But aside from recording this Patreon/YouTube project update that will be posted first, I've also recorded 4 episodes of From the Star Wars Home Video Library that will be edited and released soon that are going to look at the most elaborate of the Movie Next releases of Solo from Japan. Unfortunately, it's not a premium limited box edition. They didn't do that this time. The one-click box set from Blue Fans in China of The Last Jedi, which is just a glorious piece of work from Blue Fans. The Season 2 Steelbook release of Rebels from Zavi in the UK, and a special limited edition, collector's edition tin set of Clone Wars Complete Season 1 from Japan. So, 4 really cool episodes coming soon for some nifty products from the Star Wars Home Video Library. I just wanted to make sure to get this video out first. So, 2 episodes since the last update, 4 already recorded, ready to edit and get out there that you'll hear about, I guess, in the next update, but you'll certainly see before then. And then it's a ton of X-Wing stuff for the most part. A lot of Fantasy Flight game stuff, X-Wing being the one that takes center stage this time. So, alright, back on, gosh, it was the 29th of September, we took a look at the core game, the core set for the new X-Wing 2.0, or X-Wing 2nd Edition game from Fantasy Flight Games. The same time, same day, I released videos taking a look at the X-Wing expansion, that's the T65 X-Wing expansion for the 2nd edition, the Y-Wing 2nd edition expansion, the TIE LN or TIE Fighter expansion, the TIE Advanced X1 or By-1, I sometimes call it, expansion, the Fang Fighter expansion, and the Slave 1 expansion. Those were all released on September 29th. I got a chance to record those all at the same time. Then on October 6th, I was able to put out a look at all the contents of the Rebel Alliance conversion kit that helps you use X-Wing 1st Edition or 1.0 items in 2.0, the 2nd edition. I took a look then at the Galactic Empire conversion kit on October 11th and the Scum and Villainy conversion kit on October 22nd. So that's all the launch material because I'd already looked at Lando's Millennium Falcon and Saw's Renegades previously, and they also have 2.0 material. Also for Fantasy Flight Games, though, on October 6th, we took a look at 2 new releases for Star Wars Legion. The Boba Fett Operative Expansion Pack and the Scout Troopers Unit Expansion Pack. But that was basically it as far as YouTube went. Lots and lots of X-Wing stuff, mainly because it came in and was sitting on my table. I needed to get it the hell out of the way. And then I finally got a chance to go through, and now I got to put back in the tackle boxes in my closet and whatnot as I switch out the 1.0 stuff and switch in the 2.0 stuff. So lots of that, plus taking a look at the newest big release for Star Wars, which of course was Solo. Now, I know I mentioned I also had an episode already recorded of Nate's favorite deck building games to look at the legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer game, and we are going to take a look at that soon when I get a chance to edit it. I'm finding that I'm having an issue, and maybe someone out there can help me. I'm having an issue when I record videos on my iPad. Because I record the video on the iPad, and then try to transfer it to the computer, to the PC, a Windows 10 PC, and sometimes now it's not wanting to transfer the files. And I can set it to only, or to actually keep the original file and make that what gets sent. And those will copy over just fine, but they're kind of huge to manage. And then I have issues trying to actually work with those files now, all of a sudden, in Movie Maker, which is what I usually use to edit because I'm too cheap to buy an editing suite, and it's simple and does what I need it to do. Now, I'm thinking I may have to switch to a new editing suite of some kind soon anyway, because for some reason it's not wanting to open up those files. It's giving me trouble when I'm trying to use things I've recorded on my iPad in editing on the PC. That's why, actually, you may have noticed that there's a little bit of a different editing style to those conversion kit videos that I did for X-Wing, because those had to be edited together, but they weren't going to work correctly in Movie Maker when I tried transferring them to the PC, so I actually edited those together on, iMovie on the actual iPad. So, I don't know about the Nate's Favorite Deck Building Game stuff. I'm going to try to keep making them and try to update, for instance, the little video timeline of the different home video releases and whatnot. But I got to find a consistent way that actually works to record on the iPad, edit on the PC, and not have it screw up repeatedly on me. I don't know why that's happening, but it's caused some frustration, and it's why I've got several deck building games just sitting on our living room table waiting for me to finally be able to do the videos on them, and why I'm kind of frustrated and still needing to do the one for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's coming, it's just not ready yet because of all these technical issues that I've been having. But something I wanted to point out that is also really cool that I don't have in my hands yet to show you is that another book has been released that includes my published work. You may be familiar with a guy named James Wilder, James Robert Cruz Wilder. He was actually someone who was a big fan of Wars, and one of the big promoters, actually, as a fan, whenever I was writing for Wars, The Battle of Phobos, that series from Grail Quest Books. And over time, he has become a pretty good author in his own right, and launched his own sci-fi universe, along with a bunch of other stuff, like Eloquence of Time and Space, which is basically a poetry book of Doctor Who inspired stuff. But he has this sci-fi universe out there called 10,000 Dawns. It has had a few books out there already, but he wanted to sort of create a new jumping off point for the series for people who aren't familiar with it, and wanted to do an anthology to have different people right for this growing saga as kind of an entry point and giving different voices to it. So this week we have the release, again, so new it's not even in my hands yet, of 10,000 Dawn's Poor Man's Iliad. It is an 800-page book that includes a full-length novel by the creator of that universe, James Wilder, plus tons of short stories by various authors, including yours truly. I get a chance to explore some of the early days of that saga, bring in a new character I've created called Lawrence Landis, who is... It's hard to explain. He's basically a guy who starts out as a slaver because he was kind of born into the slaver organization of that universe known as the Vigilance. And then as things happen with the Vigilance that sort of scatter them, he's looking for a new place to sort of hang his hat. Eventually we'll see where he does, and in the process learn a little bit more about the universe of 10,000 Dawns. I also wrote a very short transition story to go along with that short story using the same character, Lawrence Landis, called, and I love this title, The Road to Hell is Paved with Legislation. The title of the short story I wrote with Lawrence is simply Unpleasant Realities. It's an alright title, but I love The Road to Hell is Paved with Legislation, and that's a story that helps set up one of the major turning points of the saga's history. So again, it is 10,000 Dawn's Poor Man's Iliad. You can find it on Amazon at this point, again, in physical book form or in ebook form. Again, my stories are Unpleasant Realities and The Road to Hell is Paved with Legislation, both featuring Lawrence Landis, who I'm particularly fond of. I love the character, and this is actually the first time I've had a chance to get some fiction out there in a while. Most of my written works recently have been non-fiction, like a saga on home video or the work in those C-Quart anthologies for Star Wars and Blade Runner. So it's good to get back into fiction with a character that I enjoy and a universe that's actually really cool. If you haven't checked out 10,000 Dawns, you really should. Again, it's James Wilder, W-Y-L-D-E-R. And with that, I think we're good to go on the updates. Again, most of it being Patreon stuff or YouTube stuff this time around. Again, more stuff on deck. We got the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Legendary video that needs to be edited. I've got more episodes to edit that are already recorded there that I already mentioned for the Patreon commentaries. And of course, those 4 episodes I just recorded to get ready for from the Star Wars home video library. So next month, you should be hearing about quite a bit more. And hopefully by then, maybe I'll get a chance to record some podcasts with Mark and Michael. But we shall see. With that, though, thank you very much for your support along the way. I appreciate it, especially those who are supporting on Patreon. I'll catch you in a month.